Well, hello everybody. It's Thursday, the half day with the day I spend with my girls every week and leading into the weekend. I want to do this post, and it's in relation to Canada's cap and trade announcements, Scott Moe, Daniel Smith's provincial response, and their disregard of methane and methane pollution that the United States, both Republicans and Democrats, have accepted, and not only accepted quite a while ago, Canadians, especially Albertans and Saskatchewanians, quite a long time ago. In fact, during Donald Trump's presidency, they got to work hard on methane reductions and emissions. Now, USA runs an economy much different than socialist countries, and Canadians, whether you like it or not, your politicians are all absolute socialists, and I'll get into the fascist attachment too, but by a rather large margin. You can take a conservative, liberal, NDP, I don't care, you can measure them, any province, any federal government, against even the Democrats. And again, you can pick the most taxed state in the United States, and an environmental taxer, so to speak, California, and measure against any region, and they literally blow every conservative in Canada out of the water when it comes to how less taxed, less socialist even the state of California is comparatively to any provincial government, any provincial region, territorial region in Canada. We blow them out of the water in absolute socialist practices. I got in touch with Oxford Economics, okay? That's the UK's leader in economics and analysis globally. There's no other institution in the UK that would be better to get a stage with than Oxford Economics. And I scored that late last night, and I had a surprising amount of Americans join me on a forum. So I don't know what's going to come of that. I requested a deep analysis of the differential in Canada on our WCS, which is our Western Canadian Select, and our CS, our Canadian Select. Those are crudes that we ship largely to the United States. Absolutely a resounding majority, almost all of it. Odd times when we're real low priced, we ship to other foreign markets, but it's extremely rare. And there's a reason for that, Canadians. The International Maritime Organization set a standard in trading on how you can trade your massive resource. And Canada falls short. Outside of everything else, they fall short in transportation and the inability to transport our greatest resource, oil, with the largest royalties and tax yielding regimes in the world, by all your provinces, absolutely the federal government. Now, the federal government, the provinces fail you all of us. They've been doing it for a lot of years. They fail us all with their established political insiders. It's corruption of the government that doesn't exist at all in the United States of America. And I mean zero comparatively to Canada, where our politicians and their bestest buddies own absolutely their transportation and distribution, limiting us entirely from the global market in a fair return for our resources. In fact, we get the lowest prices in the absolute entirety of the world. Western Canadian Select and Canadian Select trade absolutely marked down more so than anywhere else in the world. Russia's not hurting at all. They're largely $20 to $25 traded more on their crude than we are, and they're apparently under tremendous sanctions. Iran too, tremendously more than Canada on the world stage. What is the actual fault? Now, it is my analysis, my understanding of world economics and world trade, that it's because we failed. We failed to follow the International Maritime Organization's outlined emission reductions in fuel and shipping. We don't have the large capacity tankers. Our Canadian politicians who own them, former prime ministers included, who own them, and they won't upgrade to meet the global outline laws on shipping. We remain locked in with old shipping routes that are outlawed worldwide since January 1st, 2020. They were told many years, you must change, you must change. We saw the mass exodus of many global players in our shipping and in our oil leases and shipping market leases worldwide. Shell was a major blow. They said, okay, we told you for 20 years, you got to upgrade. Canada said, eat it. We're actually going to write laws that outlaw you in favor of our Canadian politicians whom own, just like other military regimes in the world, own the rights to the shipping, the maritime organization's laws that Canada doesn't want to follow. Because of that, USA says, hey, no problem. We'll upgrade your stuff and we'll ship it in relation to those international binding laws, but we're going to charge you a hefty sum for it. Now, Donald Trump has outlined clearly in many publications, in his many tours as he's going for president again this year, he's going to charge Canadian players, absolutely Saskatchewan and Alberta, for those resources. They'll upgrade it, they'll ship it in the large capacity tankers, but they're going to charge Alberta and Saskatchewanians quite a bit. And I believe that that's going to cost even more. Now, USA has made the 85% methane reductions. They've already done that. Scott Moe and Danielle Smith say today, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to stay around 64 and 75% respectively. Well, that's going to cost you in USA differential. And Canadians, you can look at it. You get charged a hefty differential. We can all go, oh, it's USA's fault. They're assholes. They're doing this to us. They're exploiting us. No. They're following international law. They're following international shipping laws that everybody's following except Canada. Canada says, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep the fat cat politicians in control of the shipping on the world stage and turn over our market to the United States. The United States says, well, since we're your only customer and now we have to upgrade the shipping, we're going to charge you for that. We're going to make you pay. And if we don't, if Scott Moe and Danielle Smith go fuck you to methane rules that USA has completely adopted, and just so people know, Joe Biden's administration is 85%. Donald Trump Republicans is 90%. So you're only going to pay more with the incoming Republicans. Sure, they'll trade your products and resources, but at a hefty cost, which they're entitled to. You want to roll it over? No problem. That's what they're going to charge Alberta and Saskatchewanians. We lose. I tagged Brian Jean. He's a friend of mine. These are real truths. Now, I'm praying Oxford Economics does this analysis. It will cost that university some kind of money. I hope they do it. I'm very privileged that a lot of Americans like that. I got support from Americans on that. Last night I was in Twitter Spaces, and I'm glad a lot of them are reaching out to help me with that. That's incredible. It's sad that no Canadians support me, none whatsoever, which again begs the question, where's my future here in Canada and in the trades I work in? The answer, it's very limited, like so many of my friends that I've made over the years in my work. We're all finding our careers tapering off, going down the toilet. And you get to an age where you don't want to go back to school, or you don't want to start over. You'd rather just move along. And I don't really want to travel around Canada anymore for work. I don't. And I start looking south at the United States, and to make that commitment and that change, well, when you make that commitment, that change, it means goodbye Canada. And I'm really looking at that, and I'm sorry everybody, but I have to look at what's right for my family and my children. And I may not be successful. I'm middle-aged. You're competing with a much younger crowd. I mean, I'm skilled, and there's a place for me. I know that still. I mean, age comes with skill set too, and your ability to produce, but there are industries for me. And I talked lots last night. I had a lot of American tradesmen and successful entrepreneurs talk to me about lots of opportunities in the States for me. And I expressed, maybe I said too much and I should have, my desire for certain industries. I find at my age it's much easier on me. I learned that in Toronto. Toronto's got lots of opportunity, but it's got a lot of extreme costs too. And the equivalent of that industry is sitting for me in a state called Florida. I still have 15 working years left in me. And the industry I really got to enjoy my time in Ontario, commercial plumbing, is the horn of plenty and boom in a place like Florida, where I could really do well in and work the dream of the 5-day work week that I got to taste in Ontario. And I look at that as I build my trailer and I have my RV. It's all there. I'm putting it all together now, and I hope to get that done before the major snow flies. I hope I do, and I'm very close to that. But that's what I'm looking at, and it's not anything but securing my future and my children's future, what's best for me and in my skill set. And if Alberta, Saskatchewan continue on the direction they're going and in your face, I know what that means economically. I know what that means for my trades. It's already been going on. Cap and trade was always a Harper government, Pierre Poilievre strategy, regardless of what anyone tells you. I'm very familiar with oil and gas. It's been my lifeblood for many years, and I know many of my friends in the trades are watching it all taper off, and it started a long time ago, 1993. I mean, we had our boom years in oil and gas right up really till 2011, but it's got harder and harder, and that started with the Harper government. I'm not an idiot. I've read the Paris Climate Accord. I know what Stephen Harper did. I know what he's done with equalization. I know what he presented with cap and trade. But now Stephen Guilbeault pulls out, along with carbon tax. I can tell you all, outside of the International Maritime Organization, there's the International Monetary Fund that now, post the end of COP28 today, as everybody's packing up shop, they released that they would like to go off the Stephen Guilbeault system of carbon tax plus cap and trade, which has been around in Canada quite a while, destroying us, the little people. And they predict trillions of dollars if only the world would adopt Canada's program released today. The International Monetary Fund wants that, where it'll yield trillions of dollars to change climate by transferring the wealth of working people to those who don't work at all or don't have economies at all. And I don't want to be in a world like that. I know for a fact USA will never do that constitutionally. No president can force that. It's not going to be possible for the United States to get a Senate and Congress to produce that outcome. It's just not available constitutionally in checks and balances. No matter what baloney presidents sell or try to sell, or what executive orders they'd like to do, they'll be ruled unconstitutional. Not so in the country of Canada, and absolutely not so in the regions of Canada. I'm sorry to say, Canadians. Scott Moe is a heavy taxer on the people of Saskatchewan. I lived it, I breathed it, I even just went out and did carbon capture. And I know that the more I say, the more it costs me in my working career, which has already cost me a tremendous amount in Canada. The industries I do like are not even available to me anymore because of my mouth. And I don't care. I don't care about the Crown. I don't care about all the garbage, the lies, the censorship, the abuse of the Crown anymore. Because there's a world out there for me, and I'm not I'm not an old man yet. I'm not done by a large margin. I still have my health, contrary to what people think, and I'm a hell of a tradesman. And then I got economics too, and I have that whole other side too that can go a long way in the US. I don't know what avenue to explore, and I don't know what my success rate would be there. But there's only one way to find out, and that's committing to it. And I'm at that point where I'm ready to move on, and I've been working at it quietly and diligently for a number of years, and I want to see Canada fixed, but I don't know that it's going to be possible in my lifetime. Doesn't mean I'm quitting what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to limit myself or live in the prison, so to speak. And if Canada has to be a place I just visit for employment in my industry times, the 6 months a year, I guess that's what it'll be, worst case scenario. But I don't know, after last night and a number of Americans, I had companies in ironworking, which is not an industry I want to really pursue because of my age, right? I don't want to be climbing the steel. I don't, there's a age limit on things, but I'm a highly skilled welder and a fabricator. And when you put me in a shop setting, I do well, or even in a commercial setting, I do extremely well. I learned that in Toronto, and it wasn't hard for me to climb the ladder of success there, from an industrial perspective and what's required of me in my industry and just how much pressure is put on you. I just don't care about chasing the almighty dollar. Talking to Americans last night, I said, listen, this rate of pay at 5 days a week, guaranteed steady income, I could do tremendously well with that in the United States. That's a dream come true, as I experienced in Toronto. And it's easy for me, and I have a huge success rate, fast, highly productive, at a high level of quality that is pretty standard in industrial. It's just so much is put on you, and I'm not knocking the pipe trades or boiler making or ironworking in industrial, but it's a young man's sport, and I have all that skill and at a high level skill, and it's easily transferable to commercial plumbing that I'm restricted in Canada, like a lot of industries, just for my mouth. And there's no crown waiting for me in the United States. Nobody cares. And it was really blessed last night to have so many in the industries reach out and say, hey, we'll help you, you're not alone, we can get you set up. And it's like, wow, I have to think about that, because my future here in Canada is looking bleak, like so many in my industries and in my skill set. We watch it all disappear. And when provincial leaders are talking in terms of fantasy or ignoring our largest trading partner and where they're at, whether again it's Democrat or Republican, and what they're going to do and have done, and you're saying that I'm not going to do it or I'm not going to listen. Well, our resources go through their hands to get to that global market, and we're already suffering the greatest differential in the entire world because of our inability to stop our corrupt politicians. And none of them talk about it. So for me, with Scott Moe and Danielle Smith, if you can't be honest about the gross theft and corruption of the federal government, both liberal and conservative, and you're going to sweep it under the rug, that tells me that you're part of that corruption, that you're getting paid too at all of our expenses. And I'm tired of it, and I don't want to even bother trying to fight an overwhelming control of media and an overwhelming stage where I can't break through. You just can't. And they know that, and they lie to all of you, and you all eat it like a proverbial shit sandwich, and you wonder why things get harder and worse. And none of them are your friends, none of them. And I watched it. Scott Moe had brilliant production value in COP28, secured a lot. But at the end of the day, in oil and gas, he reverts back to that corruption of the Laurentian elite, which is conservative, liberal, NDP, doesn't matter. They're all in there like a dirty shirt. And to ignore our largest trading partner again, the United States of America, on their Met targets and where they're going, both Democrat and Republican, and what that's going to mean for a differential that's already way out of control. Canadians, way out of control. You get a large margin, lowest payment for your resources equivalent worldwide. And there's a lot of lying economists that tell you all kinds of fabricated stories as to why it is. But the IMO, International Maritime Organization, tells you why. Shell, the massive corporation, told you why. That's a multinational not based in Canada. And they told you why they left and pulled up stakes. They warned you for 25 years. And so many others. Look at who's telling you, don't worry, it's okay, keep going. All Canadian companies or American-based companies that don't lose on the other side of this, as they've secured U.S. shipping that does match the regulations. Sorry, I don't know what to say except for it's massive corruption that's only seen in other military regimes, socialist, extreme fascist states that highly abuse their people. And that's where we're at. And I don't know what to say anymore, you know. I gotta look after number one, and that's my kids, my future, which is very limited, like many of my peers. It's limited, and I got lots of friends who are retired and not doing well today, or forced into early retirement, not doing well today. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that failure and look back and say, why didn't I do it when I had the chance? And that this one iron worker with a huge family industry in the state of California, which he doesn't live in, he said he went through it like I did 13 years ago, and of course he's 13 years my junior, and my senior. He's senior to me, and you know, he lost a leg and everything else in the industry. He's not anymore what he used to be. He can't go back and change what he should have done a long time ago, but he's done all right. He said, you know, I know where you're at, and you're at that point where you got to make that change. And he's telling me, come and do it. There's a lot of people who support you in my industry, in my trade, and you know, that's what I'm looking at, folks. And win, lose, or draw, worst case scenario, back in Canada working in my spring to fall season of maintenance and limited construction, where I know there's not really going to be ever another boom for me. And you know, the Green New Deal is not pressure, it's not high skilled, high skill set that I possess. It's a step down, working harder for less in harsher environments. And I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm middle-aged, and there's a place for me. It's just not going to be here in Canada, and I have to realize that. And that's my video. It's sad that Daniel Smith and Scott Moe won't be honest. The whole picture, they got to keep playing a picture that is an illusion of challenging the crown, modest changes, but really they're just looking at raping all of us, and they tax the hell out of all of us too. They're just as bad as Ottawa. I mean, maybe not as bad, but when you compare California, again, the most taxed state, the most climate activist state, when Saskatchewan and Alberta are twice as bad as California in taxation and socialism in the name of climate, or whatever you want to call it, that should say something to you. And they're not even the worst of the worst, but they're twice as bad as the state of California. And Scott Moe's Saskatchewan party is even more than twice as bad as California. They've got a whole nother markup beyond Alberta and beyond California that is almost triple what California does. So I don't know. I just can't accept the corruption anymore. I mean, I'm always going to fight. I'm always going to be a voice there. But to live in the prison, I just can't do it, folks. And that's my video. This is the truth today. All the rhetoric you're hearing is a bag of lies from those two provinces, the provincial leaders. They underscore the absolute biggest problem. And I pray Oxford Economics takes my challenge and does it. And then if they do, like I said, I'm lucky there's some Americans supporting me here. I hope Oxford takes that. They might, just for the United States alone. And if they do, it'd be a godsend for me. And at least maybe that would be like, see, I told you, over the last 5 years. Who knows? I pray it's done, but I'm not going to hold my breath. That's my video, folks, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon with my girls. Daddy's Day. Everybody take care. Sure, get the video out there. I know I repeat a lot, but it's because people rotate and people come on or people skip ahead in videos and try to get the message out multiple times. Bye now.